Hi everyone and welcome to Hobby World. Do you know Moxxi? You know Moxxi from the new Borderlands movie, or some of us know her from the good old computer games that has been around for a long time. Well, this is Moxxi, or this is a 3D printed version of her, and here are only a couple of the parts. So this is going to be a full-size 3D printed version of Moxxi, like the ones you see here behind me. And in this video I'm going to be working on building this model. I have 3D printed the pieces, but if you are interested in following the whole process from start to finish on how I work with 3D printable full-sized models, then you should stay on the channel and see what I have in store for you, because this is going to be an epic project. 3D printing full-sized models like the ones I have right here are kind of a large project, and it's very time consuming. You both need to 3D print all of the parts, which takes just for an eternity. Then you have to make sure that everything is assembled so neatly that everything will stay together and not fall apart. Then you'll need to build something it can stand on so it's not going to tip over and get broken. So this is actually a really daunting task. And after doing these, I decided that I wanted to do something from one of my favorite franchises. I wanted to build Moxxi from Borderlands. I've already done several videos where I show how to 3D print these parts, split them up and so on. So I'm not going to do this time. I already have a full box of Moxxi down there that has been 3D printed and are ready for painting and assembly and everything. But this time I'm going to do everything a bit differently. When I worked on this model, I assembled everything before starting to paint her. And that was a hassle. I can tell you that. That was a really horrible choice. But I had to do it because I hadn't made any of these small holes in where I could add pins. So I needed to do it that way. But with Moxxi, I have all of these pins around in the model, so I can paint up all of the parts individually. For example, I could assemble the head, making the project much smaller in itself, then assemble the head, paint it up, put it aside, and then when all of the parts are painted, then I can put them together and glue them together. So I think that's going to be the best strategy when working with these 3D printable models. So this is also kind of a test, but I think it's the right direction. If we take a quick look over here, I have prepared the loop crate Moxxi is going to rest her foot on, creating a really dynamic position. So there is something that's a bit different here from the models I did over here. And the thing is, I have added these pins and holes here. I made the holes in a 3D sculpting software, and then I made these pins that fitted in them. And the advantage of this is that when these huge parts are going together, you can glue those in place, you can add off the glue, and then you can simply slide the parts together and they will fit neatly inside these holes, making sure that all of these parts are aligned perfectly against each other. So that is a huge bonus of working with models this way. So I definitely recommend making those, even though it takes a lot longer time when actually preparing the 3D model. This is absolutely the right way to do it. As this is once again a huge project here in Hobby World, we are going to split this video up into several lesser episodes where I focus on specific parts of the model and get stuff done. And finally, we're going to assemble everything. And in this episode, I'm going to be focusing on the loot crate Moxxi is leaning her foot against. So it will be assembled and fully painted when this episode is finished. This is actually very simple. This video is all about that box down there. So let's get that box finished up. First of all, we will need to cover off the floor so I don't spill any glue or something like nasty stuff on it. So yeah, let's get everything ready. Okay, just a quick explanation of the project here. First of all, I have covered off the area I'm going to be working on, and I am working on the floor due to the size of this box. So I don't want to spill any glue or any other nasty stuff there. So you can see I have split the box up into 4 sections. I did this in 3D editing software, and then I made these keying holes and pins here for all of the parts. They are going to do an incredibly lot of work for the strength of the model when it's assembled. The stuff you need to assemble everything is right here. Some cheap super glue, bought in large quantities, I can definitely recommend using gloves, because that stuff will get everywhere and you will get it on your hands and it's pretty annoying. You'll need a knife, sharp knife, and then the magical ingredient, baking powder. If you make the super glue mix with this on the model, it will create an incredibly strong bond. To my experience, this is the best glue, the super glue and the baking powder combined to get all of those large models over there glued together. So that works really well and it's pretty cheap. So the first part of the process now is that I'm going to glue all of these pins into the parts here. And when I have done that, I am going to get the parts glued together using the baking powder and super glue. Well, take a look at this. This actually looks quite nice. I have added the super glue and the baking powder and everything worked perfectly, and I didn't get any in my hands, so they are still attached to my body and not to that box there. That's pretty perfect. So when attaching or adding the baking powder and the super glue together, it will create a chemical reaction that creates a lot of heat. I could even see smoke coming up from place to place, and that's actually a good thing, because this stuff is made in PLA, and hopefully the glue will not only glue, but it will hopefully also have melted some of these parts together so they have a really strong bond. The next step here is going to be really funny, because I'm going to add this expanding foam. And I just love expanding foam, because I've just recently built this complete slot car track here. And you can find 7 videos about that on my YouTube channel here, because I did it over 7 days and I used a lot of expanding foam. So I've gotten a bit of experience with this stuff now, and I want to use it in this project because I have this huge hole down here, and there's no reason for there to be a hole. We could add some strength using this foam, and one of the advantages of expanding foam is that it's really sticky. That's both an advantage and disadvantage, but in this case it's an advantage. It's really sticking until it dries up, and it will stick to all of the sides down there, creating extra strength, so this box is never going to fall apart. And it's also incredibly light, so you probably won't even notice it's there. So I'm going to add expanding foam to all of this model here. It will maybe even fill up some of the small cracks and gaps that are here left due to the printing process, like that gap down there. So I can just remove the excess material with a knife from the other side. So let's add some of this expanding foam to this hole. This is actually looking pretty good, except for this over here. I have no idea why it did that, but after everything had dried up and it looked fine, that just popped out from within the box itself and it came out there. So it will need a bit of extra cleaning, but no worries, it will just take what, 5-10 minutes extra. So I think this will work just fine, because when I cut this off, I'm just going to use a large knife and then I'm going to cut it off along the edge here. Then this box down here will be completely full of foam, making it significantly stronger and more durable. So at the current moment there is nothing else to do than wait until tomorrow till this stuff has dried up. So let's do that. We're back, it's day 2 and everything seems to have dried up just perfectly. So now it's time to cut off that excess foam. To do that I've found this one used for insulation and it will probably do the job just fine. This definitely wasn't what I was expecting. I thought this would be all cured now, and if we take a look right here, it's very, very clear that it isn't cured. This stuff down there is almost liquid, and my guess is that it's because due to the amount of foam here, this hasn't been exposed to air, which my guess is what makes this expand. And hopefully this will start expanding now, and then I can cut off the rest and see if everything goes as planned. It kind of looks like it's expanding right now, but I'll probably just have to wait another 24 hours before proceeding with this project, because this needs to be completely cured before I can do anything. So it's really sticky and you don't want to get your hands in it. And my fine knife down there for cutting insulation, I'll have to get all of this foam off, because it's very dull at the moment. So let's just give this another 24 hours. That's it. I allowed it to dry for another day and everything seems fine now. So all of the box down there is filled with foam. So that's ready, but we have all of the gaps right here where I have assembled this stuff, and this is sometimes due to the 3D printing process where it can retract a bit. So I'm going to fill all of this up with this stuff that is usually used on plaster walls. So simply some filler in there, and then I can sand everything down tomorrow and paint it up. So let's get some filler in there. We are finally beginning to get to the good part of this project. I have filled up all of the gaps on this loop crate, added foam inside so it's strong and sturdy, and I have used a plier to remove excess material from the printers, the supports and so on. So right now it just has a massive layer of dust because I used baking powder to assemble some of the stuff, and I have sanded down using common sandpaper all of the cracks and gaps down here that has been filled up using filler. So the solution to this problem is air, and lots of it. So that was the first part of everything. This is ready for painting now, and before applying all of the top layers and creating all of the effects and so on, I'm going to give it several paints or spray coats of this spray filler. A spray filler is sort of like a normal spray, just that it fills up some of those smaller gaps, and I'm going to use a lot of this stuff on a model this large, but that's the fastest way of filling up all of the small layer lines here. So several coats, this stuff. After that, I'm going to start painting it in the colors it needs, and I'm going to do that using spray paints. Simple as that. And the metal parts will be made using rub and buff probably, so we get this really nice finish. And then finally I'm going to add some black lines to make it look like something from Borderlands. got the first coat of red painted, unfortunately, and I don't know why I forgot to turn on the camera when doing the time lapse, so you'll just have to imagine that. This is the first coat, and it's going to be weathered a bit, and some of these parts are going to be metal. So I'm going to use another spray or several other sprays on creating that weather effect. So I will be using a lighter red, I'll be using a darker red, creating some spots and so on. And when all that is complete, I'm going to use some rub and buff and try to make those parts like this up here and here look like metal, because that's what they are going to be. And I'm very curious of how this is going to turn out, but the initial result here, just painting it red, looks absolutely fine, so no problem here. And I can't wait to start working on the Moxxi model itself, because that's where all of the details are going. So this is looking pretty good so far, but let's get some weathering and details on this. This loot crate is beginning to look pretty awesome. We have a really intense red color here. There are shades, there are highlights, so everything in that regard is as it should be. I need to apply some metal or make some of the parts look like metal, and I'm probably also going to make some of the edges here look a bit more metal-like, like the red paint has been chipped off to give it a weathered look. I am not going to overdo that, because I really think this red look suits the loot crate. But there are parts that needs to be all metal, and I'm going to make that using this stuff. This is called Rub and Buff, and it's a product you can apply using a sponge or a piece of cloth. So I'm going to do that on some of these parts, and hopefully it's going to end up looking really nice. Usually when applying the Rub and Buff down there, I will use a completely black shiny surface, because then this will look a lot more like metal. But let's just test it out on this red background and see how it turns out. Working with these large-scale builds, you often end up running into a couple of problems due to the sheer size of the project. And being very literally, I am running into a problem right now, because this is my work area for painting stuff. And it's designed for small-scale models like miniatures and slot car related stuff, all kinds of scale related stuff. And that loot crate there, that's just way too big for this area. But I'll make do, and I'm pretty sure it's going to go well anyways. So just wanted to share, because this looks absolutely stupid. Let's take a quick look at this nice loot crate we just finished here. It turned out really nice. After applying a coat of clear varnish, the colors just sort of pop and looks much better. This is very important when using red colors, because red can often tend to be a bit dull, but when you give it a bit of varnish, it will just pop and stand out, and this looks really incredible. I have painted it up, I have weathered it, it looks nice on all sides, so this is really, really great. So now I still need to do the Moxxi model and place her on top of it. So that is of course the main attraction of this project, but getting this loot crate done was just the first step, and I'm very happy of how this turned out. Well, this loot crate turned out quite nice, if I should say so myself. Very happy with the result so far. Still needs to dry a bit, I can just feel that. So rushing things, never a good idea. But I really hope you've enjoyed following the project with assembling and painting this loot crate. The main attraction of the project is of course the model of Moxxi. And I have some of the parts here, head here, something else here, and one of the boots. Everything is printed, so I just need to get all of this assembled and painted up. And unlike some of my other full-scale models here behind me, this model is going to be painted up in sections. So for example, I'm going to paint up the boot for itself, meaning that I'll be able to spray paint it, airbrush it, and do all kinds of stuff on this specific boot before assembling everything. This should do the painting task much easier, and it also will be an option for creating great content for YouTube, as I can take it a step at a time and make a video about just now I'm making the legs, now I'm making the head, now I'm making the body, and so on. So I set a personal deadline with this Moxxi project. It's going to be finished before Christmas, so you can expect a lot more videos. I'm getting a bit more spare time than I've had recently, so I'm going to use that on getting this model finished. So I really hope you've enjoyed the content so far. If you liked what you saw, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel so you can follow the rest of the projects and all of my other exciting things I'm doing here on the channel. And if you have any comments, feedback, questions, just fire away down in the comments. I always appreciate it, and I'm going to answer all of them. So fire away down in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day, everyone.